Okay, guys, so welcome to Mission Apollo. Today it's going to be fun. We're going to go through the 2022 year. We're going to take it from different lenses. So we have Mac, CEO, we have Nick, head of logistics, we have Elwa, our CTO, and me, Chris, sales. So today we're going to be going through just an overview of the year. So summary, learnings, what best wins of the year, how is the landscape, and just share a bit more info into each specific department, because we want to show you guys exactly what happens and all of the fun hiccups that we go through, and the way we celebrate, etc. So yeah, we're going to kick it off firstly with a summary of the year, and that we're going to go through in different departments. So we'll start off with Mac, if you want. How was your summary of 2022?
It's a very big and difficult to answer question. How do you summarize a year? I would say it was a good year overall. We've definitely reached new highs and new lows as well. So I think we learned a lot in both directions. Some of the highlights would definitely include the City 2022 launch, the momentum we saw right out of the gate, and the response from the community was fantastic. So that's definitely one of the highs. Another example that comes to mind was announcing the Pro in Amsterdam at the Micromobility Conference. So really cool opportunity to mingle with the different members of the industry and really launch a product on a completely different platform, and also test out a different way of launching products. So typically we used to launch products with pre-orders. This time we shifted over to reservations. And that's been serving us really well. So we'll probably see a lot more of that rolling out in the future. And then I think the summer was a little bit of a low, which is quite different from how the year usually goes. Summers are typically the highs. It's when we're rolling with full steam. But this year, for a number of reasons that I'm sure we're going to get into, it was a much more challenging year. And therefore, when the season came to an end, it felt like a bit of a relief more than anything else. And then we just recently concluded the year with Black Friday, which was definitely a high, as well as our team retreat, which we literally just got back from 2 days ago. So again, I'm sure we'll go into more details there, but challenging year, but a good year. And I think it sets us up for a really strong 2023 overall.
Yeah, that's great. Great summary. And again, we're going to go through much more of the specifics with the wins by departments and then the learnings. But yeah, great summary. Nick, how was it on your side?
On the supply chain side, it was really a year of learning. I think it was very much what Max said. A lot of new. I joined the Apollo team early this year, so a lot of learning. The role, the department, also how Apollo functions, and kicking it off with a very solid year in terms of product development, and just the way that we function. So yeah, there was a lot of challenges, opportunities, I prefer to say, where we kind of had to come together as a team. And I think that's kind of the beauty of this year, is that regardless of the challenges that we were put forward, everyone's always ready to kind of rally and help us out. We had a lot of, hard projects that we wanted to take on, both inside and outside the department. And yeah, it was a busy year, but we came out on top, which is fantastic. I mean, we had a retreat, had time to really take a pause, rally the troops one last time for kind of a last end of year hurrah, and get ready, I guess, for 2023. So yeah, it was a beautiful year, at least both personally and professionally, and I'm just excited, I guess, for what the future holds.
Nice, really cool. Elwa?
Busy year as well. We had a lot of product launch and development. We had the City, the Air, the Phantom V3, and other one behind the scene that people haven't seen yet, like the Pro that you're starting to see, and the Explore. So really busy year on development side. We also had to open our own assembly line, so that was pretty crazy. And like you mentioned, we also went to the show in Amsterdam and San Francisco, so it was great to see the other competition and how basic they are. Really, it's reassuring to see that.
It wouldn't be the annual podcast if you didn't throw some shade at competition there.
Yeah, so no, really great year, and I think it was yeah, busy, and I think I added something like my personal team grew for like I think 16 or 17 people, so that was a lot of hiring. But I'm glad that it's done, and we have all the right people now in my team and the company. I feel like you, great addition to for 2023 to prepare us.
We're still hiring, so
You just did. Cool. Thank you, Elwa. And Nadim, I don't know if you can hear. No. Nadim is currently in Lebanon, so he's having internet connection issues. So he'll jump on back in a few and give a quick overview of ops. On the sales side, very similar sentiment to what the guys shared. Yeah, again, we have super ambitious plans every year that we go into it. We set out a structure, and of course, everything changes in many ways, but overall, the key highlights, like Matt said, was city launch in terms of the sales, Amsterdam, even Black Friday, with everything coming in terms of the market, the recession, rising interest rates, scale on consumer spending. It's always, you have to have your plan A, B, C, and just prepare for the worst and do whatever you can as a team. And yeah, we were surprised, which was great in a positive way. And then also in just competition, there was so much more competition coming to the market. We see this more and more every year, which makes you have to always remember how to differentiate and always keep a good full service, whether it's from operations, customer service, product, advertising, marketing, everything. So that was really fun. And then internationally speaking on sales, EU and all was quite a hit, and like not the positive hit, but like with the war in Ukraine, rising costs, that affected our wholesalers a little bit. And then Australia, New Zealand, etc. There was logistical issues, but again, overall, really solid year, lots of learnings, and that's what we do every year. Do it, go back, and then come back stronger the next year. So really excited for 2023. So cool. Let's quickly
maybe just one more note for context in case anybody missed last year's episode. At the beginning of 2022, we were 16, 15.
Yeah.
We're now 45, 46. So obviously massive increase in headcount. Business grew by 70% from a revenue standpoint, and we've transitioned from completely old portfolio that we had no control or influence over, aside from branding and maybe some of the visuals, to a totally proprietary portfolio. So for anybody who maybe missed last year's podcast, it was a really transformative year from a growth perspective.
Okay, so cool. We'll go to the next question, which is best wins of the year. So highlights, personal highlights. We'll kick it off with you, Elwa, on this one.
Personal, professional.
Personal and professional, yeah. You can do both, yeah.
I think the biggest one for me was what I mentioned, the team building. So I had building the team for the servicing, so all the repairs. We opened New York and LA this year. Mm-hmm. That was a big win. We built also the engineering department and also the software one. And most of the engineering team, a good portion, there's one in China. For the software, we have some developers in Egypt. We're working with the agency in Poland as well at the beginning. So it's a lot of moving part all around the world. So it was hard to do, but now it's done and we have good foundation. So that my highlight would be definitely this one. We also moved the office. So if you look at the podcast that Matt referred last year, we weren't here. We're in a much smaller space. So now it's great. It's a beautiful office. We have a lot of ping pong tournament, arcade games. So still a lot to do, but that changed the vibe of the company, and we can fit all the people that Matt mentioned as well. Finalize the final three. So our goal is again to end up with 3 models that's going to answer all the demands. So we finalize it and we are prototyping all of them. So that's sort of a big win hardware wise. And on the software side, I think we made some really great improvement that you're going to see soon. And the new version of the app is pretty much designed. We just need to make it now. So I would consider this another big one.
Nice. Nick?
For me, it was essentially our new factory. I think it really allowed us to from a supply chain perspective, kind of go all the way to the very beginning of production, planning, strategic sourcing and so forth, to the actual production, to the actual shipping, to optimizing our transportation costs or distribution costs. So it was really like it was more than just a new product or a new range of products. It was just a whole new process that we put in place. And today, throughout the year, we hired a lot, like everyone's kind of touched point on, and we brought in people that have the expertise to really drive those initiatives moving forward. And they always come in, with great ideas, with new ways of thinking. They provide the recommendations. So I guess throughout that implementation of our new manufacturing plant and kind of all the way to the end consumer distribution, everyone was kind of there adding their 2 cents, adding the recommendations, and really building a strong foundation. So when we're transitioning into the future with our next models, then we've set up like the processes that really drive efficiency, drive us forward. And I think like that rollout of a huge project, set aside the innovation, the product development that Eloa does, just the execution of that strategy, the execution of the sales strategy that comes with that, the vision, the marketing. It's it's nice to see everything kind of come together around one driving goal. And yeah, I think for 2022, that was definitely at least the highlight for my part. But I think if we talk to like the entire supply chain team, like everyone kind of put their hand to it, and it was a nice effort down the line to see the scooters now today they're out in the street, they're being ridden around, they're ours. It's a good feeling at the end of the day. So yeah, that's the highlight of the year for me at least.
Personal.
Personal.
We didn't get
I was able to cycle until December 1st.
Oh yeah, nice, huge. Cool. Mac.
I would say for me, it was the move from the headless chicken running around approach to unified vision across the company. I think, as some of you might know from the early days, we were pretty transparent about the fact that we didn't start this business with a grandiose vision. We started it because it was an unmet need or an unsolved problem, which was simply access to scooters. And over time, this company evolved into something really, really special. And I think for the first time in a long time, we have clarity on how we will absolutely change the way people move around. And we will start sharing more of that information as time goes on. But I think for me, my highlight of the year was getting that clarity and then getting the whole team on board to share that vision. And today, the way that the business is positioned for 2023, the plans we have for 2023 really support this greater master plan that I'm really, really proud of. So that would be what I would say for kind of myself, the administrative portion. And then I don't know if you want to cover Nadim's, or if maybe I can share a little bit about. So Nadim is our COO. He's unfortunately unable to connect still, but he's done some really tremendous work with the whole ops team. So I think a couple of the highlights that come to mind would be shifting our CX team to a tier-based structure. So redeveloping the foundational structure for customer experience to support different types of inquiries depending on their nature and depending on the level of complexity involved. We also shifted a lot of our efforts away from just manually servicing inquiries towards automating a lot of them. So for anyone who's maybe interacted with our website, there's a little pop-up on the bottom right hand called Mavinoid, and it's a really intelligent tool that allows us to take you all the way from, I identify I have a problem, all the way through to the resolution stage without really ever interacting with an agent, unless you choose to do so, of course, and hopefully getting you that solution faster and with fewer kind of points of friction along the way. So that was really, really exciting. And then last but not least, I think the team also worked really, really hard on rolling out what's becoming the foundation of Apollo Plus. So Apollo Plus is our suite of services, and there's been some really, really great work rolling out the first couple of products. Many more products to follow soon, and really excited to see the value they bring to the larger consumer, because as we all know, products are just one part of the vertical offering that we have, but we really see ourselves as evolving into more of a software and eventually, I think, a service company as well. So it's great to see those pillars being built today.
The mic is here, by the way.
Yes, sorry.
All good. Cool. Yeah, that was really good. And I guess on the sales side, it's more of the 360 campaign executions, whether it be the release of the Pro, the Micro Events Conference, the City, and Black Friday. Again, just seeing, and getting the customer insights off of it, just seeing customers react to innovation in the industry, whether they see the Pro for the first time and they go absolutely crazy and like, this is a Cybertruck of scooters, nobody's innovating in the space, and just their reaction towards it. The city, seeing just how well it was received by customers, the feature set, seeing how customers are moving more away from spec for spec or spec for price to more of a tangible sort of use case and feature set. So saying, hey, a 45 kilometer per hour scooter is good enough for me. I don't need the 65 kilometer an hour scooter, but I need the regen brakes, I need the suspension. And we see a huge shift of that customer. And the city launch was, I think, a really good example of it, which was great. And I think that's the nicest thing, seeing how customers embrace this. And then just seeing the team work together for the campaigns and smash it was really, really nice. And that comes with external ones, which are like awards. We won loads of awards this year in terms of the best scooter of 2022 by Tom's Guide and all these other ones. So that was a real big win, which was nice. So now to the fun part, the hardest learning and improvements part of the year. A lot of hurdles, but yeah.
Personal or
no, it can be both. It can be both. We can be a bit personal with the audience.
Well, I think professionally, it actually happened earlier in the year. So we lost our head of marketing. Yes, thank you. We lost our head of marketing that I worked really, really hard to hire, and it was a role that was vacant for a long time. And I really felt like we found the right candidate. So seeing that, unfortunately it didn't work out was just a really frustrating feeling, because we took 2 steps forward only to take 3 steps back. And I think we've kind of suffered the consequences of that event throughout the year. So we're now in a really, really good place again. We found a really, really great candidate to take our marketing to the next level, but I think that was definitely a blow kind of just as the momentum of the city launch, as summer was around the corner. I think we had a lot of great things going for us. So that definitely sucked. Yeah, like I said, we paid the price for the rest of the year. On a personal side, I think I felt the most, low towards the end of summer. We all were fatigued, I think, just by this constant shipping delays with the city, some of the throttle charger issues we had with the city, eventually dealing with some potentially legal risks that Nadim handled for us. It really just felt like it was one blow after another. And one thing that always really gets me is when we just miss those deliverables for customers, and we make promises, we really work tirelessly to deliver on them. And despite what Reddit might think and all the accusations that are thrown around, we really do care at the end of the day. And we work really, really hard to make the best products, bring them to you on time, set your expectations in a way that match reality, and then to do everything we can, absolutely everything we can, to support you after you get that product if you do have any issues. So I think just seeing that waterfall of negative events took a bit of a toll on me.
And with a 70% growth, it's normal, because there's growing pains, and a lot of people don't see the insights, and that's why the goal of Mission Apollo and the vlogs is to share every single customer complaint issue, anything that we can improve as a process or system. Our team is working tirelessly around the office trying to solve this, and we want to show you a bit more of this coming in 2023. So again, it's part of the process. We do care. We're not just sitting there laughing or whatever. That's really the goal. But,
and maybe the last point here is that there is this notion that Apollo is like $1 billion company, right? Which we always take as a really flattering compliment, because it's just a testament to the work that we do. But we're a team of 45, no external funding. We're doing everything we can to bring the best mobility products to market. And Chris still cries every time we get a 1-star review. So I think it goes to show that we make ourselves seem bigger than we are, but really we're just still a small group that works really, really hard.
You need to stop that. The whole office thinks it's weird.
The crying part?
After 5 years, yeah.
You're gonna make me cry now. That's well said. Nick?
So for me, it was more learning how to take a step back. I think we're not a huge company. Obviously, we're not a $1 billion company, but we are getting more bigger in size, and it takes more time to change things. It takes more, and the decisions that we make obviously have an impact down the road. And sometimes we need to take the time to step back and really reflect on the decisions that we make and understand what the impacts are going to be down the road, and make the right decision. So it's really we want to be fast, we want to be agile, we want to move, we want to be able to, turn around and do all these things. But this year we definitely found, at least for me, that when we did take that step back, did a bit of introspection, and speaking strictly from a supply chain standpoint, giving us the opportunity to succeed, that's when we were able to, really drive forward. And I think we probably realized that in the end of the year, as we went through, the issues that we had, the challenges and so forth with the city, with like our productions and so forth. So, and with transportation, with delays, with post-COVID stressors on the industry, giving us the delays, giving us the time to succeed so that we can, better serve the customer at the end of the day. I think that's the important. We have a not a contract, but we have an engagement with the customers, and we need to deliver on what we do say. So for me, it was just kind of, at least for my team, to tell them to take a step back, take a breather, look at the big picture, and I think we've learned quite a lot. I think today we're a lot better at doing that than we were at the beginning of the year, and that's also going to help us in 2023 and beyond that. So like I said, it goes back to, I guess, my first word that I used was this year was a learning, and that's what it was, and we'll continue to learn, and at the end of the day, push for better service, push for better product, better communication, better transparency with our end users. So I guess that would pretty much resume what I find for
Aloha?
I think on my side, it's like I learned that pretty much I didn't know anything. I came in naively in 2022 with like a plan that we're gonna launch the air in the city, and that because of the Phantom, I knew how to make sure that those problems don't happen again. And I was totally wrong. I thought that opening like our own assembly line is gonna make sure that the QC is perfect. Doing stress analysis is gonna make sure that nothing cracked, which that succeeded, nothing cracked. But there's just so much more complexity into making a product that I didn't know. Like when you open your own assembly line, now you need to deal with the whole aspect of QC that is so deep. There's so many aspects to it. So that was definitely a big learning for me. And yeah, I think overall it was a success, but there's small parts like the throttle, for example, that can mess up everything. And we always say that, but like if it's a chain that we are making, it's as strong as the weakest link, and this one was the throttle. So big learning on that side. Also, I think with growing the team like we did, at least on my side, like hiring 19 employees, I was not ready for that. Like on the management, like there was a skill. There was definitely some adjustment that needed to be done. We started like in our apartment, the three of us. So yeah, the 19 people, it's a lot of staff to manage, and it's a lot of things that I'm learning every day. Like the software, I'm not a developer, or I'm not an engineer or anything like that. So trying to navigate and guide them through like the vision that I have for the product, that was a bit hard. But now it was hard, but it was a good learning. I think I come out of this as a better person, personally and professionally, more pleasant to work with most of the time.
We should be the ones judging.
I was gonna say, no, it's.
And the same thing as opening the new assembly line, I thought that I had a solid plan. Well, with New York and LA, what we mentioned, I thought that the same system that we had in Montreal was going to be great for them, but it wasn't, and it ended up being pretty messy. So this whole, I think better scoping is the team that for this year, better scoping of the work that it's ahead of us, and how we can, and to ensure that it's going to be like it's going to be really solid. And on the hardware side, like we did the Mini, right? We did 4 iterations of the Mini, so 4 different prototypes. For at the end say like we won't make it. I think that was a big waste of time on my part. Like, if there was better scoping, I could have judged that this one was not special enough. It's a discussion that needed to happen at the beginning instead of the end. So yeah, that would be my biggest improvement. And I think to your point about like we're not $1 billion company and that we care, I think we can like safely say that nobody cares like us. Like I don't know like Segway for sure, they don't go as deep as us in what they're doing, and all of them. I think we really have a passionate team, and everyone works around the clock to make sure that everything is perfect. So yeah, it's people keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's good insights.
Thank you.
On the sales and marketing, I mean, like similar to what Matt said, we had a full plan for marketing, and then two key people left the team. They got poached, unfortunately, and that when that happens, like all your resources shift everywhere, and so you have this beautiful plan and whatever it is on the sales side, and then it's a reality of a startup in many ways, or small company. It's like if one thing sort of starts getting troubled, you have to jump in and use your resources that you have at hand to do it. So a lot of the focus on that one was just doing and helping the marketing on that side. So that was a big one, a really big learning and push. And then the second one was what's very flattering is as a brand grows, there's a lot of different opportunities that come, whether it's on the sales side. So when a big box retailer comes to you and says, hey, we want 1,000 scooters, it's very tempting, right? It's a lot of money, and then you try to look at as much information as possible to see, is this going to work? You go through the P&Ls, you put worst case scenarios, but the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, and the only way you can do it is through a test. So we started testing the Polo N in big box retailers, and straight away we were seeing return rates of something like 40 or 45%. And the reason being, essentially people weren't unlocking the app, because to unlock the top speed, you have to download the app, and they weren't downloading the app. So we moved a bit too quick in that process, and we got banned. And that was really tough, right? Because like you do a whole rollout, you spend a lot of time, it's a lot of work, and then you step back and then you have to learn and see how much you lost money, etc., and you go through it. But it's all part of the learning, and I think that's what we do really well at Apodo. Everything we do is a test. We land the first win, and then you sort of test it, revert back, and come back stronger the next year. So that was it, and that's pretty much it on the personal side. Yeah, it's been a busy year, a lot of operations, but it's again just seeing the company grow, the team. Again, back to the retreats. It's something special that we're building. It's not just products. It's a team culture. It's a dream. It's innovation, and it's incredible. And it's only the beginning. So it's really empowering for the team.
I think it's fair to say we're very humbled by 2022. All of us. We kind of came into the year thinking we're the titans of the industry with 3 years of experience, and I think we're coming out feeling that we're very well positioned, but much more mindful of what we don't know, and with a renewed emphasis on focus and an understanding of why we do what we do, so that we can only focus on the things that matter.
Yeah. And just quickly on the operations side, I mean, Nadim's not here, but his was really, it was influx in volume and growth that on the operations side or the customer service side, we just weren't ready for. You can plan for 30, 50% growth. You hit 70% growth, there's more inquiries, more customers, more messages. And then you have to balance out, team retention, etc. It gets really tough. So, I mean, the big learning from there and their reaction really to that was just the CX team, how they built it, the effort they all put in. Like Matt said, they installed Mavinoid, which now does around 25% automations and self-resolution. And then that's Apollo, and then Apollo Plus as well, with the end goal of just making sure the customer experience is still great, but finding ways to make it more efficient. I think that was really important for them. But yeah, that was a huge team and a huge challenge. So I know Nadim would have loved to talk a bit more about that. Yeah.
And one thing that Nadim started to discuss is also this idea of CX being more of a scorecard for the business, more than a reflection of the business necessarily. I think there's a lot of rhetoric online about how periodically throughout the year we had these like blackout periods when it would be impossible to get in touch with anyone at Apollo, and I think that was a very convoluted, complex situation that would compound over time. And so just to reassure everybody, we're deeply aware of how important access to CX for all the customers is, and it's one of Nadim's top priorities for next year to make sure that we are easily accessible, but not just that we're really helpful, and that we have the right access to the tools and means of communication that really help us resolve your problem as the rider as quickly as possible and get you back on the road. So,
and then that comes through again preventative maintenance, support channels, service hubs, like Alwa said. So like there's so many different factors because we know the pain points, but yeah, huge growth on that. So most excited for 2023. Do you want to start?
Launching the new models, obviously. We still have some secret one that we're going to reveal, so very excited about it.
In this podcast.
Yeah, so there's going to be 3 that we're going to announce. So we're really looking forward to that and seeing the reaction that people had for the Pro. I think
it's only going to get better. Yeah,
yeah, it's going to be great. And I think we also built like a really strong amount of testers for a product. So I'm just really excited to deliver. Like a lot of you know, we are doing like 100-unit beta testers. I'm excited for them to test it to see if it's wrong. Like it's going to show us if we really learned with the Phantom in the city, and I think we did. So I'm excited to get this feedback and to continue to build a team.
For me, it's more in the behind closed walls. But next year we'll be going through a pretty big digital transformation. So I mean, we've put in place softwares like Mavinoid and different other internal softwares to help us push us forward. But this is probably one of the Apollo's more substantial projects. So the idea is to really streamline the way that we operate, automate some of our processes. I mean, today we're going to continue building the team in 2023, but we have a solid foundation this year, and it's just making sure that we have systems in place that can push the people to really take their energy and their efforts in the right direction, and really allow us to stay at the forefront of ideas of optimization and so forth. So less something that's seen external, but that has a major impact internally. So that's probably one of the most things I'm most excited about 2023, and then also just expanding our distribution network. That's going to be huge. This year we expanded in Canada to 2 fulfillment centers, allowed us to be a lot more flexible, a lot more close to our consumers in Europe. So I'm just excited to see what 2023 holds as we build on ambitious sales plan, marketing plans, and so forth, and seeing how supply chain or the things that we've learned this year can really apply it into 2023 and really drive that growth and that business up next year. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Match. I would say that what's exciting about 2023 is how unexciting it is as a year, right? Like it's not the year that the products are going to be in market, right? It's the year we're going to announce them, but it's not the year they're going to be in market. I think the ERP, the digital transformation is, probably going to be implemented halfway through the year, let's say. But by the time we really start reaping the benefits, it'll probably be well into the 2024 season. I think on the operations front, again, a lot of investment in kind of strategic talent to take our experience to the next level. So for me, it's really just exciting because we're investing in this business, we're investing in the future of Apollo, and I think what 2023 will do is it will set us up incredibly well for the best year in the history of the business, which is going to be 2024, and that's really when we start to see that massive exponential transformation take place. And we've never had this approach before. We were always just kind of gung-ho. Every year is the best year. Every year is going to be the new record. And it's really refreshing to see that we have the maturity, the foresight, and the understanding of what the business needs right now is actually to hunker down, focus, get this shit done, and have an amazing 2024. So.
Sorry, language.
Yeah, sorry.
Well said. And it's similar on the sales side. I think the last 2 years, it's like throwing spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks to understand what you're doing. Now that we sort of see what sticks, 2023 is about just putting that infrastructure, planning ahead, and understanding, sort of taking the learnings that we've had and then adapting it. So more of a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. So big box retailers, making sure we do the proper customer insights, making sure we understand what product is going there because of what reason, and then doing it instead of just throwing whatever we have there and not doing the research behind it and then getting burnt. I think that's really important. So again, sales side, it's not going to be anything super exciting. It's more going to be just building a team, building an infrastructure, and just understanding what our priorities and how we can get the best products into the best places with the right research behind it. So yeah, that's it, more on the sales side. Great, guys. I mean, that's pretty much it for the podcast. We could still talk here for another 5 hours, I'm sure, about everything. But is there any last comments or any questions or anything that you guys want to ask before we leave our beautiful audience off for happy holidays?
What's going to be the most memorable moment of 2022? Like 5 years from now, you're looking back in 2022, what are you going to remember?
I think the city launch and the team around it, like everyone suffered a lot to launch it. So, but just seeing again people riding at the micromobility conference, seeing the joy, seeing the smiles on people's faces, like seeing people understand why we're building what we're building. Why there's a regen brake when we announced it, everyone's like, why the hell is there a regen brake? And then they ride it like, oh my god, this is so smooth, this is amazing. Like, why has nobody else done this? Like, just small things, like we're taking big bets and then seeing it pay out to customers and celebrating as a team. I think the city was like a big launch. We had fun. It was especially the day itself. That for me was probably one of the biggest highlights.
I would say the conference for me as well. But I was like so proud in those in that conference. Even like seeing you on the stage, that was like, because we have a picture on my Instagram, you can go check it out. But we are like we started in the park in Laval. It was when we were the three of us with the Xiaomi and Mercane, and it was hard to push those products. People were like, oh Xiaomi and Mercane,
pushing them.
Like take it for free almost, right?
We'll pay you.
So we started like that in a park like this, and now we are like across the world and presenting like the thing that's like revolutionary. Yeah, that was definitely one of the proudest moments, and I'll keep that memory for years to come.
Yeah, I think this year it was a turning point, and in a few years when we think back about 2022, we'll see, I think, the acceleration that's going to come from what happened this year. It was a moment of growth, obviously, in terms of personnel, in terms of human resources, but also in terms of just what could have gone wrong and that we managed. So I think it's going to be another kind of situation of like, look at us being in the park, look at us where we are now, but I guess a bit different where, look at us, we were in these smaller offices at the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, transition, had a crazy summer. It's just, a springboard into further acceleration. So I think that's probably what's going to keep in my mind the most, and the way that, the teams rallied. Like the retreat was very fresh, it just finished, but I think it just showed that teams are the core of this business, and the people that we hire, the skills that we hire, and they're the ones that are going to bring us forward. And this year, like, the hiring was exponential versus the previous year. So maybe we'll look back in a few years at like the photos and say, these are now the pillars of tomorrow's business, and how that kind of evolved and how Apollo grew to infinity and beyond. Go ahead, Louis.
I would say, I think for me it was like I almost benchmark every year as who we compete against in many ways. So in the very beginning, there were a few shops like on Decory in Montreal. Shout out Easy Wheel, I think that's what they're called. And at Urban Machina in Vancouver, and I just remember we were like, my God, these guys are gods. If one day we can have scooters in stock and a retail storefront, that's like live call accomplished, and then I think a year went by and we started comparing ourselves to the Voros and the Fluids, and we're like, wow, these guys have the biggest market in the world, they have it cornered, they are so far ahead, they have all this customer access, and they're really crushing it. And today we look at New, and we look at Okai, and we look at Segway, and we're like, yeah, they're doing a few things well, but I think we're still going to come out ahead. So it's just this like frame of reference that's grown so exponentially. Comparing a $1 billion company in the form of Segway to a mom and pop shop 3 years ago, like I think that speaks volumes to both our ambitions, our ability to execute on them, and this never unwavering commitment to what we do. So
yeah, well said. And again, it's like, just looking at the growth, again, it's only been a year since, like you said, 16 employees and all that growth. And what I think the whole team is able to do in a year, most companies can't do in 5 years. And that comes from the passion and just everyone just aiming for the stars, which is really nice. But excited to hear the next year. That's going to be a fun one. But great. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you to all of the listeners as well watching this. If you have any questions, comments, what you'd like to see more on podcasts, what you want us to share, we'd be super happy to. Like I said, we're revamping these vlogs to give you much more insight into what happens in the company, so you understand our pain points as we go through it, because I think that's really important. And happy holidays, and we'll see you back in January.